Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Esports Go. I'm your host, Justin Maestas. The Overwatch League is on its third day of Week 3, and some of the playoff teams are starting to emerge. Coming into the day, it was the Valiant, Uprising, XL, and Gladiators in those positions, but at the end of that day, it changed around a bit. The primetime game featured the second place Boston Uprising, who were still undefeated coming into the day. After their emotional match against the Spitfire, they turned their attention to the Seoul Dynasty, who are just outside of the playoff race. A win for them will jump them back into the playoff position. A huge game with playoff implications. Let's see who came out on top. No, your monitor is not playing tricks on you. The Uprising are up 1-0 on map 3. Since the teams drew on map 2, the Uprising only need one more map to win the series. The Dynasty took round 1. If they want to clinch the victory on map 3, they're going to need to win the next 2 control points. They started off well and gained the point first. Striker's Junkrat is able to keep the Dynasty at bay. They keep the point in their control until Fleta releases a barrage into the Uprising. After the dust settles, the Dynasty are finally able to take the control point. They are able to hold it off until overtime. The Uprising respond and dive onto the point. Fleta tries to unleash another barrage but is killed before he can do too much damage. The Dynasty double down and try to keep the Uprising off the point. They are too strong though, and are able to hold it off for the round 2 win. In round 3, Mistakes looks right at home on the Widowmaker. He gets some clean shots on the Dynasty, forcing them back for the Uprising to take the point first. They are able to hold it all the way until overtime. The Dynasty are only able to gain the point after parking Miro in the corner. The Uprising are on attack again. The Dynasty are trying to loop back around them. However, a bomb from Orisa pulls Reinhardt off the platform. Without their beefy tank, the Uprising are able to grind out the Dynasty on the point to keep it in their control. Despite a few stalls, the Uprising are able to hold the point for a map 3 win. They have done it. The Uprising lose map 4, but are still able to win the whole match 2-1 over the Dynasty. The Uprising do it again by beating the Seoul Dynasty. The strategy of jumping on Fleta and having someone else beat them worked perfectly. Now they sit at 6-0 and in good shape for the playoffs. As good of a win as it was for the Uprising, it was probably an even worse loss for the Dynasty. They're now 3-3 and looking up at the playoff spot. They're going to need someone to step up if they're going to make the playoffs. With games against London and New York still remaining, it's going to be an uphill battle. Speaking of playoff races, the next match featured 2 teams who were on the outside looking in. Even though the Philadelphia Fusion and San Francisco Shock both have the same record as the LA Gladiators at 3-2, it's the map differential that's the difference. Another big matchup for both teams. The winner will sit in the last playoff spot at the end of the day. Let's see who put themselves in a good spot going forward. In shocking fashion, the Shock are up 2-1 on map 4. The fight for the 4th slot in the playoffs is on. If the Fusion want to hold it, they need to win 2 maps in a row. They are on attack first, and it's rough. Architect is on fire, getting headshots left and right to keep the Fusion at bay. The Fusion are kept to the first checkpoint all the way till overtime. They are eventually able to grind out the Shock and push through. They gain some time back, but it's not too much. On the next point, Architect is still going off and keeping the Fusion at bay as Widowmaker. The Fusion are only finally able to get some leeway at 10 seconds remaining by sneaking around the hiding Shock Winston. The Shock can see the area and set up for the next attack. Philly is able to push through the payload to the very last 2 meters of the second checkpoint. A Poco self-destruct is not able to clear out the defenders though, and the Shock are able to pick off the remaining attackers. The Fusion are stopped short on map 4. They need a stalwart defense to keep the Shock from winning. The Fusion attempt to dive on the Roadhog, but the whole hog keeps them at bay. He gets so low, but the Fusion are not able to finish the job. The Shock are already through the first checkpoint. Sinatra is trying to get a pick in the Fusion back line. Boombox gets the headshot on him though. The Fusion spring into action to try and get a few more kills, but Super's whole hog keeps the Fusion at bay once again. The Shock have salvaged the situation and continue to push the payload. The Fusion are never able to fully recover from their last fight, letting the Shock easily push the payload the last few yards to victory. They have done it. They take the 3-1 victory over the Fusion. A huge win for the Shock, who put themselves in the playoff conversation for the very first time. They sit at a comfortable 4-2 record with a decent map differential of +2. Okay, I laughed at our colleague Matt Brown when he said on our podcast that they're going to make the stage playoffs, and well, Matt, I'll give it to you. They're looking pretty good. But wait, Games against New York and London loom on the horizon. Architect and Sinatra will have to have good games if they want to keep their place in the playoffs. The final match of the night was one that I was sure excited about, and it's no secret. The Shanghai Dragons are without not only a win this stage, but a win this season. The big 0-25 record is looming over their head. They face the Florida Mayhem, who are also looking for their first win of Stage 3. This is the best shot the Dragons have to get a win. Will today be that day to get that elusive victory? Let's check it out. The Mayhem are only up one map on map 4. The Dragons have a really good chance at bringing this game to a map 5. The Mayhem are on attack first, but the Dragons' defense is, dare I say, coordinated. Addo jumps into the Mayhem while they are distracted by the Dia and goes to town. The Mayhem are forced back before they can get too far. Logic finally gets the ball rolling for the Mayhem with a few key kills on the Dragon support. They are able to get past the first turn on the map. In overtime, Fearless punches out the Mayhem's mercy. Lacking a primary healer, the Mayhem fall 1 by 1. The Dragons showed an insanely strong defense on Route 66. If they have just as strong of an attack, they will win map 4 for sure. Now it's the Mayhem's time to pull off an insane defense. Logic gets a pick as Tracer to stall out the Dragon's push. Addo tries to get the ball moving with the Dragon Blade. It is not enough though to push the payload. The Dragons are forced to retreat. Fire Player saves the day for the Mayhem in overtime with his tactical visor. He gets the insane damage off on the Dragons to push them off the payload. After a brief stall, the Mayhem pull off the hold. The Mayhem take a 3-1 victory over the Dragons. Oh, the Dragons came so close to forcing that 5th map, but in the end it just wasn't meant to be. Just too many mistakes and losing players early, and okay Dia, I'm looking at you. That was their downfall. The Florida Mayhem get their first victory, and we have to believe they're a better team in stage than they were in stage 2. Fire Player is a beast on Widowmaker, and Logic when he came in was fantastic. 23-0 on Route 66, which helped his team get the victory. Hopefully that will help raise your spirits, my dude. Alright, let's shift into talking about the heroes and zeros for the night. My hero is Architect for the Shock. This man plays Widowmaker incredibly well, but not just that. He plays it differently. He gets into the head of the competition and helps them push his team to victory. Now for the zero. There's no zero. We're going to keep it positive as we head to the break, and we'll be right back to preview the last day of Week 3. You're watching Esports Go. Hey, welcome back from the break. Now that those games are over from last night, we now preview the last day of Stage 3. The first game, and we start out with the day with one of the hottest teams in Stage 3. The Los Angeles Valiant are a perfect 5-0 this stage and look to keep the ball rolling. Agilities and Kriv were clutch in that match against Gladiators, but their star player Soon's going to have to step it up a bit in this game. The London Spitfire are one of those teams that will punish each mistake and use it to their advantage. Yes, they've been struggling all stage, all but one of those losses came in map 5. Just because they're down doesn't mean that they won't bite you if you're not careful. The next match features two teams who are in the middle of the playoff race. The New York Excelsior are sitting in 3rd, while the LA Gladiators, with a win, will jump into that 4th spot. There are only 2 weeks left until the playoffs start again. Every single one of these games matter. LA barely missed the playoffs in Stage 2. Can they defeat the defending champions and prove they're a force to be reckoned with? The final match of the rivalry we haven't seen in a while. It's the battle for Texas. The Houston Outlaws and the Dallas Fuel duel for bragging rights in the Lone Star State. The last time we saw these two teams face off was in Stage 1, and it featured a little bit of trash talking. The Outlaws came out on top in that one, and let's be honest, the Outlaws are once again favorites in this one. But really anything can happen in a rivalry match. Just look at the Battle for LA. Those games never disappoint. A reminder, those games start early since it's Saturday, 1 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you have time before then, check out our website at challengemedia.tv for all your gaming news. Also, check us out and follow us on Facebook and Twitter as well. Thank you for watching Esports Go, and I'll see you tomorrow.